Hello learner, welcome once again to Manifested Online Classes. My name is James Kenyani. We are going yet again to proceed with our topic on Surds, and today we are going to look, in the lesson we shall look at rationalizing the denominator. Rationalizing the denominator. So with the lesson rationalizing the denominator, the objective is to enable the learner to use the method of rationalizing to simplify surds. So the objective is to enable the learner to use the method of rationalizing to simplify surds. So somebody would ask and say, what is rationalizing? Rationalizing is expressing a fraction having a surd in the denominator such that there is no surd in the denominator. So to rationalize, so that is what rationalizing is. Rationalizing is expressing a fraction having a surd in the denominator such that you remain with no surd in the denominator. So it's best looked at when you have examples. You can be told simplify by rationalize. So they can tell you simply rationalize the following. Rationalize the following. One over the square root of 5. So to rationalize this, I'll look for a number equivalent to 1. Equivalent to 1. So we'll say square root of 5 over square root of 5 is equivalent to 1. So when you want to rationalize, you'll multiply by you see, when you multiply a number by 1, you don't change it. So that's why the method is used to simplify. So to rationalize, this will become 1 over square root of 5 times square root of 5 over square root of 5. That's why I've told you square root of 5 over square root of 5 is 1. When you multiply something by 5, by 1, you've not changed it. So in that case, why they use this method to simplify or to make the denominator not to have a surd. So you'll remain with 5 over, in the last lesson when we have this, you shall have square root of 5 into this root sign, you'll have 5 times 5. So it will become square root of 5 over square root of 25. Square root of 5 over the square root of 25. Simplified, it will become square root of 5 over 5. So that is the final answer of rationalizing. So I've rationalized that. I've simply multiplied the numerator by both the numerator and the denominator by the denominator. So you multiply by square root of 5 over square root of 5. B 1 over square root of 7. It will still be the same. You'll say square root of 7 over square root of 7 will be 1. So you'll multiply by square root of 7 over square root of 7. You don't seem to be changing it. That's why they say you are rationalizing. So it will be 1 over square root of 7 times square root of 7 over square root of 7. It will become square root of 7 over square root of 7 times 7, which becomes square root of 7 over square root of 49 lana, which finally comes to square root of 7 over 7. You finally rationalized that. You see what is happening? Eh? But we shall look at a second example. In 2, you are told simplify by rationalizing the denominator. Simplify by rationalizing the denominator. We have 1, 3 over square root of 5 subtract 1, and 2 we have 4 over 6 minus square root of 5. Here it will be a bit different. There is something they call a conjugate surd. You look for a conjugate to make sure that you don't remain with a surd here. You'll use a conjugate surd. You look for the conjugate, and before you look at that, if you have, so you realize A minus square root of B is the conjugate surd, of A plus square root of B. So in this case, when you rationalize using that, you multiply the denominator and numerator by the conjugate surd of the denominator. So to rationalize here, you have to multiply the numerator and denominator. So to rationalize, multiply the numerator and the denominator by the conjugate surd, You'll have to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by the conjugate surd of the denominator. You'll have to multiply by that conjugate surd. So in our solutions, this is what we are going to get in 1, 3 square root of 5 minus 1. And since I've told you this is what you multiply the numerator and the denominator, you'll come and say 3 square root of 5 plus 1, the conjugate surd of the denominator. The conjugate surd of the denominator is multiplied by both the numerator and the denominator. So how does that work? You open the brackets. Then here you come, open the bracket, square root of 5 times square root of 5, you'll have square root of 5 times square root of 5 minus plus square root of 5 minus square root of 5 plus 1. Let's look at what will happen. This square root of 5 cancels with that square root of 5. Square root of 5 times 5 is square root of 25. So this will work to 3 square root of 5 plus 3 over square root of 25 plus 1. So learn how does that come, what does that come to? Square root of 25 is 5. So it will be square root of 3 square root of 5 plus 3 over 5 plus 1 over 5 plus 1. It works to 3 square root of 5 plus 1 over 6. That is the simplified form by rationalizing the denominator by multiplying by the conjugate surd of the denominator. So first of all, you get the conjugate surd. Then you multiply it by both the numerator and denominator. That is rationalizing using what? Using the conjugate surd, or we simply say rationalizing the denominator. We shall look at the second example where we have 4. We shall come to 2. Number 2. You are given 4 over 6 minus square root of 5. The first thing is to get the conjugate surd of this. The conjugate surd of the denominator is of 6 subtract square root of 5 is 6 plus square root of 5. So you'll go straight to multiplying by each. So this will come to 4 into 6 square root of 5 over, when you do this you are rationalizing, over 6 minus square root of 5 into 6 plus square root of 5. So you simplify. 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times square root of 5 is 4 square root of 5. We come down. 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times 6 is 36. Then we have 6 square root of 5 minus 6 square root of 5 plus 6 square root of 5. You start with plus, then minus 6 square root of 5. Then you finish up with the square root of 5. Square root of 5 times square root of 5. Let's simplify. The denominator remains the same. 24 plus 4 square root of 5 over this and this cancel, plus 36 minus square root of 25. Square root of 5 times square root of 5 is square root of 25. So you'll have 24 plus lana 4 square root of 5 over 36 minus 5. 36 minus 5. This will work to 24 plus 4 square root of 5 lana over 31. That gives us our answer. That gives us our answer. So in such a case, you look for the conjugate surd of the denominator and multiply it both by the numerator and the denominator. So having done that, it will be time for an assignment. So before I go to the assignment, know what a conjugate surd looks like. The sign changes there. If it was positive, it becomes negative. A minus B is the conjugate surd of A plus square root of B. So learner, that was the assignment, rationalize the denominator. You saw how we went about. So A, 1 over square root of 2, B, square root of 2 plus 1 over square root of 7, C, 1 over square root of 3 plus 1, D, square root of 2 over square root of 11 plus 4 square root of 10. So here you need a conjugate surd. In these two, you need a conjugate surd. These ones you multiply, just multiply this by square root of 3 over square root of 3. Multiply here, square root of 7, square root of 7. But in these two, you need the conjugate surd. So thank you very much for the audience. Work through the assignment and get the proper inclination to the operations in surd. So thank you very much, and let's meet in the next lesson. Bye-bye.